think we can see in today's gospel about the woman caught in adultery two false views that people have of religion in general and of the church in particular. And the first is some people view religion or religious people as being judgmental, just like the Pharisees in the gospel. They're hypocritical people who think that they're morally superior to others, and they'll throw stones at others while ignoring their own sins. People who think, well, look at how good I am and how bad you are. And if that's what religion is, then why would anyone want to be a part of that? As a second false view of religion that's very common is people will look at today's gospel and say that sin is not really that big of a deal. Jesus let this woman go who was caught in adultery, and so God forgives. No matter how many times you sin, God is going to forgive you. And therefore, you can go and you can sin as much or as little as you want, and you really don't need to be that concerned about the commandments. You can love God, and it doesn't really matter if you commit sins or obey the commandments or not. But both of these views are a distortion of the truth. The purpose of religion is not to judge people, and it's not to condemn them. The purpose of religion and of the church is to draw us into a real and an authentic relationship with God. We were created for union with God. We are designed at the deepest levels of our soul for that purpose. And that relationship with God has been ruptured by sin. And so we will never attain the fulfillment that we were created for without being incorporated into the church, and through the church being brought in union with God, because that's what we were created for. And so everything the church does, from the moment we're baptized and incorporated into Jesus Christ, and everything else that we do as Christians is about being drawn into a relationship with God. And so that is the purpose of the church. It's not about being judgmental or critical of others. Now, Jesus does not reject the moral laws. He doesn't say that it's okay that you committed adultery. And he doesn't say, go and sin as much as you want. Adultery causes incredible suffering. It can ruin marriages, and it can tear apart families. There are real consequences to sin, and every sin is that way. Sin hurts people. And so Jesus tells this woman to go and sin no more. And so what he's doing is he's giving her an opportunity for a new life. She has encountered Jesus Christ, and she can live a new life in obedience to his commandments. And so we can't create an artificial separation between loving God and obeying his commandments. Both of them go hand in hand. This past Thursday, we had the installation mass at the cathedral in Cincinnati of our new Archbishop Robert Casey. And it was a wonderful mass. There were probably about 30 bishops there from throughout the country, and there were representatives from the parishes throughout the archdiocese, and about 175 priests were there, and there were seminarians there, representatives from different religious orders and different religious groups, like the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, and different ecumenical groups that were there, and representatives from the police and different groups in the community. So it was a really great gathering of people that just filled the cathedral. And there's one moment within the installation mass, which was kind of a bittersweet moment, where Archbishop Schnurr, who began as the presider, he got up from the chair that symbolizes his authority as the shepherd, and which he was wielding for the last time, and then he transferred that authority to our new Archbishop, who he escorted to sit in that chair. And it was a bittersweet moment, first to be grateful for the ministry of Archbishop Schnurr. He's been a very faithful and a good shepherd for us for over 16 years. And he's been a priest for over 50 years. He's given, almost a lifetime of service to the church. And so it was a moment to be grateful for his ministry, and as he goes into retirement now. but also, a moment that's a new beginning, as, Archbishop Casey will begin his service to the Archdiocese. But at the end of the Mass, Archbishop Robert Casey gave some remarks, and there's a very sincere moment where you could tell that he was opening up his heart. And he expressed his gratitude to Jesus Christ. And he said something interesting. He said he was giving thanks to Jesus Christ, who never once in his entire life had let him down. And so it was really powerful to see that, as the Archbishop was reflecting back on his life, he, first of all, has a real and a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And he can say and he can see how Jesus has been with him throughout his entire life. And, I think if there's one thing that we can ask for in a bishop, it's someone who comes to the office not for some ulterior motive or for some agenda, but someone who knows Jesus Christ personally and who has been so transformed by that relationship that he desires to bring other people to know him as well. I think many times our expectations as to what's possible in a relationship with Jesus Christ are too low. Sometimes we might say, well, I've prayed before, and I've gone to Mass before, and I kind of know what that's about. And we kind of set our expectations too low as to what's possible. And sometimes we may have never even truly encountered Christ in a way that's transformative. But it is possible to have a relationship with him that transforms every aspect of who we are. And that is a relationship that's possible. And sometimes it's because we don't have a deep enough faith, or our expectations are too low, or maybe we just haven't made the commitment in prayer and invested the time that's necessary to experience that relationship. But it is absolutely possible. And so as we continue with this Mass and we reflect upon today's readings, first of all, we give gratitude for our shepherds, the ministry of Archbishop Schnurr through many years. And we pray for blessings upon Archbishop Robert Casey as he begins his ministry here in the Archdiocese. And we pray that each one of us may see the church as she truly is. Not as some organization that's judgmental of others, but as the path to be drawn into deep communion with Jesus Christ and into a relationship that is so life-giving and so transformative that it changes our minds and our hearts and our behavior. We pray that we might seek and experience that relationship, because that is going to lead us not to misery, but it's going to lead us to the fulfillment that God has willed for us from all eternity.